Okay, so this is a weird kind of structure for a shiur, because really what I'm basically attempting to do is to go through the relevant halachot of Purim that would be relevant for you. Meaning I took out all kinds of things such as how exactly you write a Megillah and so on, which I'm assuming nobody here is in the midst of. So, very quickly trying to review the halachot. If you have anything to add or to ask, definitely do so. It's not, I don't have like a set structure, like, beginning, middle, and end. It's just, you can see my list. That's why I didn't make a source sheet. It's just like a bullet list of the issues that I think are most important. I reviewed the Halachot of Purim, who I trusted to cover all issues that we need. Along with, there's a new edition. Well, it's not so new, it's a few years, but the new edition of the Halachot of Purim has it has footnotes with what the Mishnah Berurah paskins. So that way you really get a full picture. I think that in America I see people tend more to follow the Halachot of Purim actually than Mishnah Berurah as opposed to in Israel. And I think that's personally the way, that's what I grew up with. And he is surely a tremendous posek that we can rely on, because you'll see there are a few places where he is more lenient in these things, and I think that we can rely on. Okay, so we'll start off with Tanya to Esther, which is this Wednesday. The fast starts at first light, alot shachar of basically Tuesday night going into Wednesday. Take a look at calendars exactly when it starts. You can get up. Before you go to sleep, you have to say that you're not accepting the fast, and then you can get up and even have a full meal before the fast starts. And the Rambam says that the fast is in memory of the fast that the Jews fasted when they thought that when the Gezer is out, that they were all going to be killed. So in memory of that, we have the fast. Obviously, the point is that the truth hasn't changed in the 800 years since Rambam, is that we always have things that are problematic and that are very serious and grave issues. We have now Benjamin Netanyahu visiting very close by. He unfortunately couldn't stop to visit us, but don't laugh. I mean, David told me that he tried. Yeah, but he tried. He's not coming, but
Why would
no.
Michael or anything
here? Yeah. They have been generally they do have an interest to speak with college students.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of any other college campuses.
Really?
When he was opposition leader, he did.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Okay. No. Okay. Anyway, so there are serious issues always going on, and that's what we're supposed to keep in mind when we go through this fast. Now, interestingly, the Halachot of Purim says that because this fast is really only in memory of that historic fast, so it's not on the same level as even other minor fasts. There's certain room for leniency. Again, if somebody feels well and there's no real problem, so you're not supposed to go around looking for leniencies. But possibly, in certain situations where you're like not feeling well, but you're not like really sick, you're not, you don't have to stay in bed. So possibly there's room for certain leniency, because again, this isn't a fast that was accepted by everyone as a regular fast, rather only in commemoration. And it's funny that the Beit Yosef adds that the reason, well, if it's in commemoration, so why didn't they have a fast for 3 days? Why don't we have a fast for 3 days, just as they fasted then? And he answers that most people can't really handle that, so we're not going to go and impose that upon everyone. Okay, so that's basically Tanit Esther. I'll skip actually to one thing that does have to do with Tanit Esther, which is the Machatzit Shekel. There's a custom to give half of the unit of the going currency. Okay, so that would be $50. Some people I've seen have the custom to really try and actually find a $50 coin and acquire that. So they'll pay, the 50 cents, pick it up and acquire it, and then give that. That's only a custom. If your custom is to give the machatzit shekel, as far as its value, that's fine too. You can give 2 quarters, you can give 5 dimes, whatever works for you. I actually want to check, but I think that we do have in one of the closets in the Beit Midrash. I think I've seen a few $50, so we'll put those out in case people want to, in case that's their custom or they just want to do that. And the Ramah brings that the custom is to give 3 machatziot, 3 halves. So basically in the United States that would be $1.50 to give to any tzedakah that you would like to give. And this is generally done by mincha of Tanit Esther, which we will be davening very close to the time of the Megillah. So we'll put out the $50. We'll put out some plates collecting money for causes, and people will be able to give. Okay. Now, as far as the Matanot Le'Evyonim, so I told you I'm going to take care of that if you participated in the community Mishloach Manot, so that's taken care of, and we're going to be transferring the money to Rabbi Silver from Pikesville.
Wait, if you bought community Mishloach Manot, then you give it Matanot to that idiot?
Yeah. Now, it's preferable to give more if you're able to handle it, because what I was relying on when I said that we can give the Matanot Le'Evyonim through the community Mishloach Manot is really taking into consideration, and I've seen very big rabbis who say this, that you basically can be yotze by giving a pruta, which is a very small sum, anywhere between 5 and 25 cents. So I've also seen other sources that say that that's not what you should give as Matanot Le'Evyonim. Rather, you should give something which enables a person to buy a simple meal. Okay, so we're eating pizza. What does 2 slices of pizza cost? I have no idea. Maybe $5, right? So I think, at least $5. Maybe a little nicer, so that's, anywhere between 5 and 10. So you have to give 2 matanot to Evyonim. So that, I would say that it's nice if you can afford it. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not telling anyone what they have to do. But if you can handle $10, so it's a nice thing to do, especially if you think of the fact that one of the main mitzvot of Purim is having a Suda. So there you are, sitting with your own beautiful meal, or having brisket, and all the different things that we're planning on having. So the least we can do is try and give money to people who will be receiving the money that same day, and they will literally be able to go out and use that money to buy food for their Suda. So, I don't remember the exact language of Rambam, but he has a very famous quotation that he says, if you're spending more money on Purim than the basics, don't spend it on Mishloach Manot. Spend it on the Matanot Le'Evyonim, because there is no greater joy than to lighten their hearts. So bottom line is, it is taken care of if you participate in the community Mishloach Manot. If you can handle more, it's a good idea. You can either give it to me to pass on to Rabbi Silber, who again will be giving it out on Purim Day, or find your own channels. There's a good time to advertise that JLIC is running a joint program with Yad Eliezer. The rationale being that JLIC can reach a population that Yad Eliezer would never have reached, and on the other hand, that people will be giving to Yad Eliezer, which is a charity fund in Israel. So they're cooperating with them, and you can look on Facebook and find the link to the site, donate online, or transfer money to me, and I'll transfer it to JLIC. Which also, by the way, they're going to make sure that it's given out on Purim Day, so that also will be considered Matanot Le'Evyonim, just as I said before. Okay, so there's a special halacha regarding Matanot Le'Evyonim that every person who asks, you give them. Generally, throughout the year, it's not only permissible, rather it's a good idea to ask people, ask them a few questions or try to find out who exactly they are before you give them money, definitely if it's a significant sum of money. I have to tell you, I'm saying this because I really am a very gullible person. I see somebody who seems needy, I immediately feel like I should go out and help them. And this happened when we were living in Alon Shvut. The rule in Alon Shvut is that every person who collects money has to have a letter from the rabbi of the yeshiv. And if you don't have that letter, so you're not supposed to give a person money. Okay, so this guy shows up in shul, and he starts saying, my son is on very special kind of medication that's not covered by healthcare, and it's costing us a few hundred shekels a day, and we're going bankrupt. The guy's crying, literally, you can see tears. So I say, I was planning on giving the guy a few hundred shekels, and I say, I don't carry that kind of money on myself. So I say, I'm just going to go home and get you some money. So as I'm entering my house, I'm thinking, wait, the rule here is that you need a letter. And I asked the guy, he didn't have the letter. So I figured, I'll just call the rabbi. Pick up the phone, call the rabbi, and say, there's this and this guy. This is the story. Do you know him? Because I keep forgetting to say it. The guy said he doesn't have a letter, but sure, call the rabbi. He knows me. He'll say it's fine. So I figured I'll do that. The rabbi starts saying, that guy, he's still here. I told him to get out of here. I'm going to call security. And he obviously knows that this guy is he's just a scammer. And this guy broke my heart. I was ready to just open up my pocket and give him a very serious sum of money.
Like a religious person or not religious?
I don't remember.
But then both who come?
Yeah. You have all types and sorts. When people open up their pockets because they feel that way, because it's easy to break their hearts, so it attracts all different sorts and types. So that's the kind of thing that you really should be doing throughout the year. But on Purim, ask no questions, you give. Now it doesn't mean you have to give them a few hundred shekels or a few $100s. What you can do is just keep a bunch of coins in your pocket, and whenever somebody asks you, give them a quarter. So at least you know that you gave, you didn't turn anyone down, and you're serious tzedakah when you're giving bigger sums. So you give to sources that you are sure need them. Now, an important halacha is that you can give the Matanot Le'Evyonim through a shaliach. So we're going to do it with a few shlichim. You give it to me, I'm going to give it to another rabbi, and so on. Let's see, the shekel, I said something. Okay, now very quickly a few things regarding Megillah. I will make a few announcements, but you have the privilege of at least finding out a little more in depth, a few halachot regarding the Megillah. So we read Megillah both during the day and during the night, and interestingly, the Halachot of Purim brings another source, which I forgot what his source is, that the reason being, because when we were yelling out to Kadosh Baruch Hu, so it says that we did that night and day. So in commemoration of that, we read the Megillah night and day. And if you combine that with the notion that the Megillah is really a substitute for Hallel, because the Talmud says that we do not say Hallel for a miracle that occurred in Chutz La'aretz. So Megillah is a substitute for Hallel, so really we're supposed to be saying Hallel during the night and during the day, because just as we have to cry out to Kadosh Baruch Hu during the night and during the day, so too we are showing our appreciation both during the night and during the day. Yet the main Megillah reading, contrary to what many people might think, is actually during the day. Because all other mitzvot, if you think of it, the Mishloach Manot, the Suda, the Matanot Le'Avyonim, everything else is done during the day. If you do that at night, you are not Yotzei. So, we're going to have a big crowd for the night, and I'm assuming a little less than that during the day. But really, the main part, the main reading is during the day. So definitely try your best to make it to Korea during the day. We will be reading a little early in the evening. We're going to be going according to a lenient calculation of when Shkia is, and the reason being that even if it is not, according to everyone, considered really to be night, so the Aruch HaShulchan says that that you can read Megillah even before nightfall. Well, he doesn't say you can deliberately go out and do that, but he says if that happened, that's okay, because it's not a mitzvah d'oraita, it's a mitzvah d'rabbanan, and you can be yotzei. So we're going to be reading a little earlier. If you're not comfortable with that, we're having a later reading, so you can come to that as well. There's an interesting concept of Pirsum Hanes, just like we have by Hanukkah, right? The main mitzvah of the Chanukiah is to publicize the miracle. So too we have the same concept by Purim. The way we do that is by the Megillah. So therefore, it is preferable to have the Megillah reading in front of a tzibor, which is at least 10 people, and I say here 10 people because it's actually questionable. Some say that by Megillah you can have a combination of men and women because they both have the equal obligation, which touches upon what we were studying. So I'll say something about that in a minute because it's not sure that it's exactly the same obligation. But again, it's preferable to have as many people as possible at the Megillah reading. And therefore, if you have the option of going to a small Megillah reading with 5 people, or you can have 50 people, so you should be going to the 50 people Megillah reading. Okay, now another important thing is that even if you yourself were Yotzei, so you can read for someone else, which is what I'm going to be doing. I'm first going to be hearing the Megillah and the big minyan, and then reading later for people who could not make it to the first reading. So you can do that, and you can even say the brachot. Now, women. So listen up. This might happen to you if you ever make the bracha, because sometimes if you have somebody reading for you, and just like for a group of women, so he's going to ask you if you'd like to make the bracha. So the bracha that women make is not al mikra megillah, like you make just in a general tzibur. Rather, lishmoa megillah, to hear the Megillah. The reason being, very interestingly, that there is according to the Aruch HaShulchan, this isn't agreed upon, but there are 2 different obligations as far as Megillah. Men have the obligation of reading the Megillah, and women have the obligation of hearing the Megillah, which would seem weird, like why would that happen? So, this is just my thought. If you have any other thoughts, I'd be happy to hear any logic for this. What I was thinking is that generally women should be exempt from things like reading the Megillah, because it's a mitzvah tashish zman. It's dependent upon time, and therefore they should be exempt. Now, once we have added women to the obligation because they were part of the miracle, women were saved just as well as men. So the obligation that Chachamim gave them was not like an active obligation to go out and read it. Rather, it's a passive obligation of listening to it, because that's like minimizing the change to the rule. Like, whenever you're going astray from the general rules, so at least you try to minimize that, and by making it passive and not active, possibly that's minimizing it. That's just my thought. If you have any other
So a woman
thoughts,
who reads it herself and listens to herself reading it, is she Yotzei?
Yes. So because she heard it. Exactly. No, but that's actually a very good point, because somewhere along the way, I remember seeing the Aruch HaShulchan either say himself or quote someone that if a man reads Megillah, but he did not hear what he was reading, so it could be that he's Yotzei. So again, I don't remember if he said this as like he thought that it's true and then he refuted it. I don't remember if that's his bottom line, but somewhere along the line he brings that kind of logic that if you read it and did not hear it, you would be Yotzei. So a woman in that case would definitely not be Yotzei. If that's true, it's only for a man, because a woman has to hear it and not to read it. Again, this is only the idea brought by Aruch HaShulchan. Others believe that, and these are very big opposing. It's Rashi, Tosafot, Rambam, think that women have the exact same obligation, therefore they would even be able to read and be motzi men. Okay. Just now, we'll just conclude with a few quick halachot regarding the Suda. So the Aruch HaShulchan says that you should have bread by the meal. So that's important to remember. You have one main meal during the day. During the night, it says that it's a good idea to add a little bit of food, but you don't have to have like a full-fledged Suda. But during the day, there's chiyuv to have a Suda. We have it usually in the afternoon after we daven mincha, so in case you're drinking a bit, so you're not going to have a problem davening mincha. So the Aruch HaShulchan says you should have bread. Others are not sure whether or not you have to have bread. So, obviously we have some kind of medical issues, so there is room for leniency. But if, all things considered, everything's okay, you should have bread. Rambam says that you should have red meat. Again, if you don't enjoy meat, so there's no point. You're not supposed to force yourself to have meat, but if you generally enjoy meat, so make sure that by the Halachot of Purim you have meat. Drinking, that's a whole other story. If you'd like to, I can send you my sources, but very quickly, there's a story in the Talmud where Rava and Rabba had a Purim Suda, and then, Rabba and Rabbi Zera had a Purim Suda, and then at some point the Talmud says that Rabba got up and slaughtered Rabbi Zera. So once he, you know the story? So you know that what happened is, so afterward he sobered up, and then he saw what had happened, and he prayed, so that there became a miracle, and Rabbi Zera came back to life. And the next year, so he comes back to Rabbi Zera and says, why don't we have a Purim Suda together? So Rabbi Zera politely declined and said, been there, done that. I don't think every year you can expect a miracle to happen and have me come back to life. So different poskim take two opposite approaches from this story. So I'm just stating the general two opinions, and the rest, if you're interested, you can look into the sources that I can send you if you'd like. So some say, well, obviously we see what the outcome of drinking on Purim can do. If two great rabbis are having a Suda and one slaughters the other, obviously the Talmud is trying to show us that it's negative. And some say exactly the opposite. The fact that the Talmud brings this story, yet keeps the halacha that Rava says, a person has to drink on Purim, so that shows that there still is a chiyuv, even though we know exactly the dangers and possible consequences. So those are two opposite ways of looking at it. Either way, you should be drinking in a holy and Jewish way, and not just in a gluttonous way. And if it's done, I believe that it can be done with purity, through divrei Torah and taking it easy, not using hard liquor, which, by the way, according to some, that's not even the point of Purim, because the Purim starts off with the king having a banquet with wine, right? So the point is drinking wine, not hard liquor, which is much easier on your stomach and so on. So you can find like a middle way and do it in a civil fashion. As I said, we davened mincha before, which is what we're going to do here, in order for people to be able to daven mincha without being drunk. If you forget Al Nisim in davening, you do not repeat. If you forget it during the Suda, what do you think? You repeat it? Like, what's the reason you don't repeat like Ya'aleh V'Yavo during the meal? On Rosh Chodesh, let's say you forget Ya'aleh V'Yavo.
I don't know.
So some say that you would have to repeat it because you have to have the Suda on Purim. So therefore, any Suda that you are obligated in having, if you forgot to add any insertion in that blessing, you would have to repeat. But Aruch HaShulchan does not accept that, and he says that you do not have to repeat the Birkat HaMazon if you forgot the Al Nisim, which is what I think you should follow, because this is a suffix of brachot, and we can be lenient. One last thing is the Maharil brings that it's important to wear special Shabbos clothes on Purim because it's a holiday. So what I always thought is that's like, I see people showing up to shul on Purim with costumes and so on, and I'm not going to harshly speak against a custom where it's so widely spread, but it always jars me. Like, during davening, you're standing before the king, and people are like, the most ridiculous fashion. You could justify that to a certain extent and say, well, this is the way. This is sort of like the normal way people are dressing on Purim. Okay, I can try and justify it. But what I always felt is, here we have these poskim that say you should be wearing Shabbos clothes just like on any other holiday. Therefore, you should dress up nicely, go to shul, hear the Megillah, and then afterwards you can put on your costume and enjoy. I'm not telling you that's what has to be done. Surely you have the custom of most Jews, I think, to go to shul dressed up. But I think this is a good way to be able to combine both giving respect to the holiday with dressing up nicely, and then after the Megillah, wearing your costume.